Hello everyone! Welcome to my channel. My name is Catherine. Today I thought I'd do a quick tutorial on transferring embroidery designs onto dark fabric. While working with light fabric is more straightforward, tackling dark fabric requires a whole different strategy. What will we need? Of course, a printed design, fabric, hoop, pins, and a regular pen. White transfer paper. I have one from Burda and I recommend it because it's of very good quality. It's great because the transferred lines don't erase as quickly as with some other brands. We'll also need scissors to trim the fabric to fit our hoop. Alright, let's dive in. The initial consideration is the fabric. Opt for a plain cotton fabric. It works best. For this particular design, I've gone with a hue reminiscent of winter evening twilight. It perfectly complements the wintry scene, a house in a snowy forest, embraced by trees and delicate snowflakes. Before we begin, it's important to check that the fabric is free of folds or wrinkles. If there are any, iron the fabric because it will make it easier to transfer the design. Next, I'd like to clear a bit of space around to prepare our fabric. It's crucial to lay it on a flat surface. Let's place the hoop on top. We'll outline it to avoid mistakes with the size of the piece. I trace the hoop along the outer edge. When I cut off the excess, I try to leave an additional 2 cm or 1 inch from this line. Firstly, this way nothing will hinder me. Secondly, I will have enough fabric to comfortably stretch it over the hoop. Now let's move on to the transfer paper. I cut out a square of transfer paper that fits the size. It feels different on each side. One side is smoother, the other is rougher. We need to place the smooth side on the fabric. This is the side that will leave an imprint. On top, let's place the design. I created this winter house design recently. Below there will be a link to it and instructions on how to embroider it. The manufacturer recommends using smooth fabric. I can add that it shouldn't be too slippery or satin-like. Otherwise, the design will wear off faster. In this case, I chose not the most suitable option. My fabric is not cotton, and I'm not sure what it is exactly. It's quite slippery. But it is what it is. It was the only suitable piece in the nearby craft store. Now, let's try transferring the design. I take pins and pin all 3 layers together, so that nothing shifts during the transfer, ensuring neat lines. I attach them from all 4 sides, piercing all 3 layers. This is how it will look in the hoop. But we don't need it now. I just wanted to see that everything is fine and I have enough fabric on all sides. Next, I take a pen. Any will do. I use a pen with ink. In this case, it provides an additional bonus, because I can see which lines are already traced. I start outlining. I always do a small test at the beginning of the work. Let's quickly check how it looks on the fabric, whether our design is transferring, whether everything is good, so our efforts don't go in vain. During the process, I don't recommend splitting the layers anymore, as it can lead to a shift in the image. But in this case, I'm transferring the design to such a strange fabric for the first time. I needed to make sure everything is good. Now I'll pin everything back, and we continue to slowly transfer our design. Don't rush. This is also part of the meditative process that creating things by hand gives us. What can I say about the design? It's a winter landscape. Here we have a wooden house in the forest, surrounded by snow-covered pines, a bush with ripe red berries in the frost, many snowflakes, stars, and a brightly shining moon in the dark sky. This design will be available in PDF format. It will come with DMC thread numbers, a guide on the basic stitches used here, tips on embroidery, and a method of the final beautiful framing of the hoop. In short, a lot of useful information. This is such a festive theme, perfect for anyone trying to get into the holiday spirit these days. I've noticed that crafting something with your own hands on the eve of the holidays really helps. Here I'm not meticulously transferring the design dot by dot. I've already figured out roughly how I'll embroider the windows and snowflakes outlined with thicker lines. I'll be leaning on the reference when I start embroidering, so for now I'll simplify this process a bit to save some time. I want to show you the finished result as quickly as possible. I also wanted to tell you about this carbon paper. Regular carbon paper is usually dark, but it won't help us with dark fabric. I have this special paper here. There are two sheets in the pack, white and yellow. On one side, each sheet has a kind of waxy coating, and it's this coating that leaves traces on the fabric. Of course, there is another simpler and faster option that those who purchase my PDF guide for this embroidery can use. You'll be able to print this design directly on water-soluble paper, but I wanted to showcase this method of transferring the design to fabric since it's less common, more rare, and more interesting from my perspective. Because when you transfer the design yourself, there is a great chance of learning about the design you're about to embroider. You can note more details that you'll later need to implement. It's a good warm-up before diving into the actual stitching with threads. Now let me share a bit about my plans for this design. I'll show it to you in color first. This is how it looks. Here I have red beads that I'll use for embroidering the berry bush, and with white beads I'll embroider the stars. The previous time I embroidered this design on a lighter fabric just for my own pleasure, and I didn't record the video process. I'm transferring the Christmas trees. For embroidering this design, you can use both regular embroidery floss and wool threads. I think it should turn out very beautiful with wool threads, as they give any design a warmer and cozier atmosphere, as well as a unique texture. For embroidering the house, several shades will also be used. Its base will be in this dark wood shade, and the areas around the windows will be embroidered with a dark reddish color, creating the effect of illuminated wood. I'm planning to deviate a bit from the instructions this time and will be combining different threads. I have various shades of green for the trees. With wool threads, you can add accents afterwards directly on top of the embroidery floss. Now let's start transferring the red berries. They will be fully embroidered with beads. Here's another addition regarding the technique of transferring the design to fabric. If the design is not transferring well onto your fabric, a good hack is to place something soft like cardboard underneath the fabric. So today I'm transferring the design on this beautiful blue background. It's actually dense and soft craft paper. When transferring the design, I use medium pressure on the pen. That is, I don't puncture the pen even with a fairly sharp tip. However, if you press too lightly, the design will transfer with very faint lines, and it will be less convenient to use later. Because despite the quality of the paper, the design will gradually fade as you handle it during the embroidery process. So I'll speed up the process a bit now, as the actions will be quite repetitive towards the ends. I'm finishing the trees and snowflakes. And now we've reached the final stage. Everything is ready. I finally peel off the design. Let's see what we've got. Every time I'm excited. While I'm unpinning it, I highly recommend these pins. They have an elongated tip and they are very convenient and easy to remove. And at the same time, they don't harm your nails and fingers. Alright, I carefully remove the design. It's funny, the design replicated on the carbon paper. But I won't keep you waiting. Here's what we've ended up with. Let's take a closer look. It seems I forgot to transfer one tree. Well, not a big deal, I'll fix that in the process. So here our design. Let's do a little test. I'll wrap one of the stars. And yes, it starts to gradually fade. So from now on, handle this fabric very carefully. I recommend as soon as you transfer the design to duplicate all these outlines with threads, and then fill in this outline with color. Let's put our fabric in the hoop. Carefully tighten the screw and stretch the fabric, not too tight without distorting the pattern, but still ensuring the surface is smooth without folds. Here on the side, I need to pull a little more. The tension should be approximately like the membrane of a drum. So all the details, as you can see, transferred beautifully. I'm very pleased and I'm eager to start the embroidery. And thanks for watching. Below is the link to the design that you can purchase, and there will be a lot of useful information. I think you won't regret it. Support me with a like. You can also subscribe to my Instagram and this YouTube channel, as I plan to post even more interesting videos. Bye for now.